Welcome into Locked On Phillies. The Phils win again last night. They double up the Blue Jays behind a strong game from Nick Castellanos, a good start from Aaron Nola, and we're starting to see some positives come back into the fold for the Philadelphia Phillies. We'll recap last night's game. We'll preview this afternoon's game, and we have a special viewer or listener or tweeter at least. I'll explain who it is later on in the program. All of that on today's Locked On Phillies.
You are Locked On Phillies, your daily Philadelphia Phillies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, this is Locked On Phillies, another edition. The Phils win last night, so it'll be a fun one. I am your host, Connor Thomas, as it says in my lower third graphic there on the YouTube. If you're not checking it out on YouTube, it's a great way to consume Locked On Phillies. If you're just listening on podcasts, appreciate that as well. Of course, Locked On Phillies is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. A championship team is about each player being a perfect fit. Same with your vehicle. So for parts that fit, head to eBay Motors and look for the green check. Stay in the game with eBay Guaranteed Fit. ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply. And if you're not watching on the YouTube, you won't know this, but I'm going to go ahead and dime myself out to the people who might just be listening to this. This is why you should watch on YouTube, because you get these little Easter eggs. Am I wearing the same outfit as yesterday? Okay, technically, yes. But the Sixers won a huge game last night, and the Phillies won, and I'm not changing. So, yes, I am wearing the same Sixers shirt as I was yesterday. I promise I didn't sweat in it or anything. I just sat in a bar and watched both the games last night. So, don't mind me. I'm getting laundry done. So, new outfit tomorrow for the next episode that you watch. But this is not about my outfit. This is not locked on what is Connor wearing. No, this is Locked On Phillies. And last night, the Phillies were worth being locked on. They won 8-4 over the Toronto Blue Jays. It was a nice game. It was well put together. It got tight for a little bit. I mean, the main downsides of the game, the first one is a little bit of injury news. Now, we'll go through what happened in the 8-4 game and how they got it. But leading off, the first thing to be concerned about off of last night is Kyle Schwarber in last night's game fouled a ball off of his back foot. So as a lefty, it would be his left foot. Fouled it off the top of his foot, stayed in the game, finished the at-bat, and then was removed. Dalton Guthrie came in for him. They did x-rays on Kyle Schwarber's foot. The x-rays were negative, so that's good news. And Rob Thompson said if he's going to miss any time, it should be short because he's a tough guy. I guess really it's listed as a foot contusion is what the team is calling it. So it's probably just a pain tolerance type of thing. They have an off day tomorrow, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Schwarber not in the lineup for today's 4 o'clock afternoon game. I think it's actually a 4:10 game. But you might be looking at 2 days in a row off for Kyle Schwarber as an advantageous thing from the Phillies' perspective, right? Because they have the off day, you could sit him one game and basically buy one, get one free, right? Sit him for one, pay the price of missing it for one game and get 2 off days in a row. So maybe that's what the Phillies want to do. Maybe he'll say, I'm fine, and he'll go today. So we'll see when the lineup comes out. But keeping an eye on Kyle Schwarber, he was just starting to figure some stuff out. It'd be a shame if he went ahead and had that breakout game on Sunday, and then the very next game he ends up injured for, I don't know, a couple days, a week, who knows. But hoping he could play through it. So you'll know when I know. The latest updates I've had are what I just gave you. X-rays negative. Rob Thompson said if he does have to miss time, it shouldn't be a lot, but that's not confirming or denying whether or not he'll play today. So keep an eye out to see if Kyle Schwarber is in the lineup for game 2. Now, how did the Philadelphia Phillies win game 1? Well, first of all, it started with a strong start from Aaron Nola, which is what we talked about. We've been saying starting pitching is an issue, and we know that Nola faced off against Alek Manoah. We know that was a strong pitching matchup in general for that game. I mean, Manoah's good, Nola's good. It was going to be a who's better on the mound type of day is what I billed it as yesterday on yesterday's episode. And Nola gave you 6 innings, 5 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, 2 walks, 6 Ks. He did allow a home run to Bo Bichette. Bo Bichette's a good hitter. It happens. But that's the type of line that you can win with. 6 innings of 2-run ball is what you expect from a good starting pitcher in Major League Baseball. And that's what Aaron Nola gave you. And if you can get that night in and night out, the Philadelphia Phillies are going to be a really tough team to beat, especially when they put up 8 runs. Now, how did they go about putting up the 8 runs? Let's run through it. First of all, Toronto got on the board first in the top of the third. Bo Bichette hit a double, more on Bichette later, but scored Kiermaier from second. So Bo Bichette with that double in the third inning, traded places with him, but Nola worked out of it. Then Nick Castellanos in the bottom of the fourth, after getting some chin music from Alek Manoah, homer to left field. Absolute power swing from Nick Castellanos. He's been great this year. The resurgence of Nick Castellanos is something a lot of people were talking about this offseason, myself included, but not it's going to happen. It's we were trying to talk ourselves into it. Well, we don't have to anymore. It's happening right before our eyes. He goes yard. It's a 2-run homer, scoring Bryce Harper as well. 2-1 Phillies. Then Trey Turner hit an RBI single in the fifth. Then Bo Bichette, of course, we said we were going to re-mention him. He gets a home run off of Nola in the sixth. So both of the runs that Nola gave up were at the hands of Bo Bichette. But again, good hitter. He's a guy that's a player for Toronto. They got a strong lineup. That's why they're the team that they are. And they're above 500 and they're competing in a stacked AL East. But the bottom of the sixth is where the Philadelphia Phillies really made it work. So JT Realmuto hit a sacrifice fly to right field, scoring Nick Castellanos easily. And then Edmundo Sosa had a big RBI single, scoring Alec Bohm. It's 5-2. That feels great, right? Then Seranthony Dominguez comes in. This is outside of Kyle Schwarber's potential injury, and we'll see how that plays out again. Seranthony Dominguez was the biggest concern, actually, in the play of the game last night. He had a rough seventh inning. He surrendered 2 runs, including a run forced across by a hit by pitch. So not good. He made an error trying to field first base where there was this weird play where Alec Bohm looked like he was turning to second to turn a double play or try to, and then thought better of it. Turned to flip it to Seranthony Dominguez, flipped the ball, and Dominguez just wasn't looking at him. It hit him in the chest, and run scored on that. So 2 bad ways to give up runs. Dominguez ended up working out of it, or rather, Gregory Soto ended up working out of it. And it was just, you don't love to see that from a guy that was so important for this team last year and has had a rough start to the year, but the Phillies survived. And then in the bottom of the eighth, they could really use a bit of an extender with Craig Kimbrell set to come in, looking for a save opportunity. Well, Brandon Marsh hit a 2 RBI double, making it 7-4. Bryson Stott hit into a fielder's choice. Alec Bohm scored. So no play was made for an out on the play, but they tried to come home and get Alec Bohm, and he beat the throw. So 8-4, and that's how the game would end, with Craig Kimbrell throwing a fine 9th inning. And there you go, 8-4 Phillies, a good win over the Toronto Blue Jays. The Phils have now won 2 in a row. They're 17-19. If they win today, they can get back within 1 game of 500. Of course, they're playing an afternoon game today. So you're looking at a 4:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start. If you want to go ahead and listen to that game, go ahead and check out the SiriusXM app. It's going to be a fun pitching matchup. Zack Wheeler goes for the Philadelphia Phillies. Kevin Gausman goes for the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll talk about that matchup in a second. But you're going to want to listen to that game. And the way you do is you go to the SiriusXM app, and you can catch every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast. Just go to the SXM app and search Phillies, and you'll be able to pull that game up. But yes, coming up, we're going to talk about that game, how Zack Wheeler needs to echo or maybe even one-up what Aaron Nola did yesterday in order to keep this going, and why the Phillies have a very good look at getting a sweep here. Momentum seems to be going back the Phillies' way. We'll discuss that as we continue with today's episode of Locked On Phillies. First, though, I want to tell you about my friends over at SoRare. They're one of our newest sponsors, and SoRare is a revolutionary fantasy baseball game and marketplace that's transforming fans into owners with officially licensed digital cards featuring players from across all 30 MLB teams. It's absolutely awesome. You've seen apps all the time where it's just like, oh, you can do this fantasy, that, or this fantasy, the other thing. And it's a week or 2 long, and it takes forever, and you got to pay so much attention. They're not even that good prizes. That's not it. Unlike other fantasy baseball platforms, SoRare managers truly own their fantasy experience. You collect, buy, sell, and compete with player cards that you have on your team. You play against global opponents. You have a chance to win epic rewards as well. And win or lose, you still own your cards. There's no cost to play. It's not like these daily lineups where you got to pick a new team every single day. No. You build your team. It's free to do. Plus, the more you win, the more you advance, collecting increasingly powerful cards and accessing next-level competitions and rewards. Listen to some of these rewards that are available. You can win a variety of rewards depending on what type of competition you're in. It can include SoRare scarcity cards to make your team better, game tickets, merchandise, signed jerseys, VIP experiences like meeting MLB stars. All of that stuff could be yours just for playing SoRare. And the MLB game weeks happen twice weekly and span a 3 to 4 day cycle. So it's nice and quick hit. So you don't have to worry about keeping track of things for over the course of like 2 weeks at a time. It's perfect. It's the best way to go about daily keeping up with Major League Baseball games and everything there. So, of course, the prizes may vary depending on the competition. So you're going to want to get started now so you can get to those high-level competitions and start winning some of the good prizes. So head to sorare.com/lockedon. That's spelled SORARE.com. To draft your team of free player cards, set your lineup, and start competing today to win epic rewards. Again, that's sorare.com/lockedon, and that'll get you to start playing today. All right, let's preview Game 2 of the Philadelphia Phillies short 2-game home series against the Toronto Blue Jays. So the pitching matchup, we've already kind of talked about it a little bit in yesterday's episode when we talked about the series in general, but let's dive a little bbit deeper in. Zack Wheeler is going to face off against Kevin Gausman. I'll go through the stats again. We'll reiterate what we said yesterday, but Wheeler's 3-2 on the year, Gausman's 2-3. Wheeler's ERA is higher at 4.26 than Gausman's 3.86, but the whips are close, the innings pitched are close, number of hits are close, number of Ks. Gausman has a couple more Ks. He's got 12 more than Wheeler so far this year. Wheeler has a couple more walks, but Gausman has given up 4 more home runs than Zack Wheeler. He's given up 5. Wheeler's only given up 1. It's a nice day out here in Philadelphia. The ball's going to fly today at the yard. You saw Nick Castellanos go yard yesterday. You saw Bo Bichette go yard yesterday for the Blue Jays. Saw a couple balls go off the wall. Nick Castellanos made a nice catch at the wall on one. So the ball was traveling a good amount, and that was a night game. A day game today, it's going to travel even better. So you're going to look at an opportunity for the offense to be explosive, and that's why Zack Wheeler needs to keep the ball down, and Kevin Gausman needs to keep the ball up. Need the Phillies to take advantage, and maybe that home runs are the X factor. Also, you can't just be swinging for home runs, though. He's a good strikeout pitcher. Try and still put together good at-bats, but I told you about Alek Manoah yesterday. I'll tell you about Kevin Gausman today. The Phillies are good against right-handed pitchers. Hopefully Schwarber's available because he's a big part of that, but Bryson Stott, Brandon Marsh, Bryce Harper, these are all guys that hit well against righties as opposed to lefties. So you're looking at a situation where advantage Phillies based on the handedness of the opposing pitcher as opposed to it being a lefty, right? Righties are better than lefties is basically what I'm trying to say. Now, the matchup predictor shifted a little bit. It was like a 45% chance yesterday or like a 49.5% chance. Or I forget exactly what it was. I know it wasn't what it is now, but I'll just tell you what it shows now. According to ESPN Analytics, the Blue Jays have a 51.3% chance to win. The Phillies have a 48.7% chance to win. That's about as close as you'll see it get with that analytics tool on the ESPN app. So bit of a coin flip there. We'll go ahead and see how that plays out. The biggest thing to keep an eye on, the biggest thing is the injury report. So we'll run through this injury report. George Springer listed as day-to-day. He pinch hit in yesterday's game. I expect him to be available for the Toronto Blue Jays. We'll see how that plays out. No one else that's on that list is really anything of note for the Blue Jays. A couple starting pitchers and a relief pitcher, but no one who would have affected this series because the starters were already set. The Phillies injury report. Kyle Schwarber's listed as day-to-day. Jose Alvarado is listed as day-to-day, which we got to see what happens with him. He had some wrist tightness or whatever, some wrist soreness. So we'll see how that is. He wasn't available last night, so maybe he'll be available today. It doesn't seem to be serious. He wasn't too concerned about it when the media met with him, but you're looking at a situation where you want to be cautious with him because he's been one of the best relievers in baseball. Andrew Painter, interestingly enough, on the ESPN app, I'm just noticing this, is listed as day-to-day. So maybe he's getting closer to doing something that could lead to a call-up. Who knows? But he's listed as day-to-day. He might be in the back of your mind, but he might come to the forefront here soon. And then Ranger Suarez, who's listed on the 15-day injured list, it looks like he's set to be activated for this weekend series against Colorado coming up. So we'll talk more about that. We got another off day tomorrow, so we can dive deeper into that and have some fun tomorrow's episode. But for today, the biggest one you're looking at, well, the biggest two, is Kyle Schwarber available? Is Jose Alvarado available? Those are the two questions for the Philadelphia Phillies. No lineup out yet. If Schwarber's available, I'd expect the Philadelphia Phillies to try and put together the same lineup they had out there yesterday, which is to remind you what the lineup was that they went with yesterday so that we know the idea for Rob Thompson. It was Stott leading off, Turner batting second, Harper batting third, Castellanos 4, Schwarber 5, Realmuto 6, Bohm 7, Marsh 8, Sosa 9. I don't mind that lineup at all. A couple of the bottom guys are shifted around from what I think my ideal lineup would be, But the top 5 is what I'm looking at. And Stott, Turner, Harper, Castellanos, Schwarber is the order. I have no doubts that that's the best opportunity for the Philadelphia Phillies to win ball games. I think that's what Rob Thompson should put out over and over and over and over again. Now, looking at the players to avoid for Zack Wheeler, if you're looking at the lineup, obviously Bo Bichette had a great day yesterday. I went 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a homer. Outside of him, no one really did all that much. Dalton Varsho had 1 hit. Matt Chapman had 1 hit. Whit Merrifield had 1 hit. Kevin Kiermaier had 2 hits. He went 2 for 4 out of the 8 hole. So maybe he's set for a big day. But Matt Chapman's really good. We know that. He could have a bounce-back game. The guys that I'm looking at to stay away from, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. was 0 for 2 with 2 walks, while 1 was a hit by pitch. So Guerrero, Chapman, those are the 2 names I'm looking at saying they don't normally have 2 really bad days in a row. Go ahead and keep an eye on them. And if I'm Zack Wheeler, he already knows. I don't have to tell Zack Wheeler to avoid Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Matt Chapman, but I'm going to tell him anyway. I'm going to tell you, since you're listening, this is what you want to keep an eye on. Those are the at-bats where it's like, okay, if you're cooking, put down the saucepan for a second, watch this at-bat, because these are going to be the bigger at-bats of the game. For the Phillies, the guys that need to get hot, Bryson Stott's cooled off a little bit. He went 0 for 4 yesterday. Trey Turner only 1 for 5. Would love to see him break out. And Bryce Harper, 0 for 4. Those guys at the top, those top 3, combined 1 for, 8 plus 5, 1 for 13 in last night's game. That's not good. They need to be better today, and I expect them to be. So watch the top of the Phillies lineup as the ones who set the table. But again, this is all going to go back to starting pitching. Can Zack Wheeler go ahead and put together 6 innings worth of work, 2 runs or less? Maybe. Can he go deeper? Maybe. I mean, the pitching hasn't been consistent, and the Phillies haven't really gotten in a rhythm. But this could be a time to do it. Listen, your guess is as good as mine. Coin flip. Who knows what Zack Wheeler we're getting today or what Phillies starting pitcher we're getting today, because it seems like every single one of the pitchers is Jekyll and hiding us all year. A different guy every single day. One night they'll look like a Cy Young. One night they won't get out of the 3rd inning. So you just got to kind of cross your fingers and hope at this point that Zack Wheeler has himself a Zack Wheeler-esque performance, and he goes ahead and takes care of business against the Toronto Blue Jays so that the Philadelphia Phillies can get a nice sweep out of the way. I know it's only 2 games, but sweeping the Toronto Blue Jays would be a nice feather in the cap of this team, especially since they've been struggling lately, and that's a confidence builder. When you do that and you sweep a good team, even in a shortened series, you're looking at a situation where you can build on that. And we talked about this going into the road trip where there's some favorable matchups with Colorado and San Francisco, Arizona. You're looking at a situation where the Phillies can go on a bit of a run here, and now they're building momentum to do that. A win today would be another step in the right direction. I just want to go ahead and go to Zack Wheeler's splits, his career pitching splits, and I want to see what his numbers are. I can't imagine he has a lot of sample size against the Toronto Blue Jays, but just give you an idea of his career numbers against the Toronto Blue Jays. So let's just see. Toronto. He has 4 career games played against the Toronto Blue Jays. He has, let's see the ERA. We're looking at a situation where, do they even have ERA on here? Why is this annoying? Oh yeah, game level. Sorry. Baseball Reference is so weird with that. They put the weird stats first instead of the good ones. So he's 0-2 against the Toronto Blue Jays all time. That's not great. With a 6.63 ERA. Only a couple of games though, 4 games. So not anything too crazy, not a huge sample size. Actually, he's pitched 19 innings against the Toronto Blue Jays. Let me scroll through this because it might be, it's one of the lowest of any team in baseball. It's one of the lowest number of innings, I should say, that Zack Wheeler's pitched against any team in baseball. I think it's in like the bottom 7, just eyeballing it here. So not a lot of history between these 2 teams, which can be a good thing. It could mean that they don't know much about Zack Wheeler. Not that they don't know anything about him. There's plenty of book on him. He was a Cy Young candidate for multiple years. They know he's good, but sometimes when you have a guy you don't see very often, there's one thing watching tape. There's another thing going out there and seeing it. So, hey, we'll see how that all plays out. And the same goes for Kevin Gausman, who the Phillies aren't totally familiar with. So a fun pitching matchup today, and one that hopefully goes the Philadelphia Phillies way. Now, you can hear that game at 4:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Just go to the SiriusXM app, and you can hear every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast, so go ahead and check that out. You just go to the SXM app and search Phillies. You'll be able to hear that. that'll be fun. We'll recap what happened in that game tomorrow, and we'll look forward to a West Coast swing for the Philadelphia Phillies and talk about expectations for that West Coast swing. But coming up to end today's episode, as we wrap up, I want to talk about a special maybe listener, definitely tweeter, someone who I didn't realize was following my stuff that I want to talk about a little bit and give some love to and just let you know who's also consuming Locked On Phillies. So we'll get into that as we wrap up today's episode. All right, so I was just scrolling through, I do these, the nows, the Locked On nows, which are, if you haven't checked them out on YouTube before, maybe you watch them, maybe you haven't seen them yet, you should. It's my immediate reaction to the games when they finish. So like when the final out happens, within about, 30 minutes to an hour, depending on my schedule, an hour at the latest, I put up a video of my reaction to the Philadelphia Phillies win. Just basically talk through my immediate feelings. Locked On Network can repost them here and there and everything. But basically, it's my immediate reaction to the game. And I post them on Twitter, post them on YouTube, and Locked On repurposes them for certain things. If you've already seen them, I know this might be repetitive. If you haven't, go ahead and check it out. That's Locked On Nows. And they put together a nice package of the big sports news from those Locked On Nows, and they put them all together in a different podcast. So go ahead and check it out. And it's a very interesting way to keep up with everything. It's basically like a mini ESPN in podcast form, which is cool. But anyway, I say all this to bring up, I posted the Locked On Now from yesterday's game with the Phillies 8-4 win over the Toronto Blue Jays. And I'll read you what the caption was on the tweet that I put out and the YouTube video. You can go ahead and watch it after this. But I tweeted out, Locked On Phillies now, Nick Castellanos stays hot, comma, the Phils take down the Jays in game 1. A couple exclamation marks in there because I was excited. I like when the Phillies win. And I went back to the account today. I see a couple of likes and a couple of people who just followed the account and a couple of random people on Twitter. And then an interesting one, I see Michelle Castellanos. I was like, wait, what? And then I go ahead and look. And I see, yes, indeed, Michelle Castellanos, who I believe is Nick's mom, Michelle Castellanos, is going ahead, and it's either his mom or his wife. Let me double check this. I want to make sure I have it right because I don't want to be. Yeah, it's his mom. I thought so. I was pretty sure, but I would hate to be like, wait, no. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm losing my mind because I was almost thinking if it wasn't his mom, they'd have different last names. My brain's broken by this. Yes, it's his mother. Yes, she liked the Locked On Now tweet. So I just want to let you know, yeah, Miss Castellanos, if you're going ahead and listening, we love your son. Happy to have him here in Philadelphia. And I never, ever, ever, don't go back to last year's tapes, ever said a bad thing about Nick Castellanos as a baseball player. No, it's cool to see that she's interacting with fans and podcasts and media members and stuff like that and active on social media. It's just cool to know that players and their families are seeing not only what I'm putting out, but what maybe you tweet if you're active on Twitter or if you talk to them at the games. That to me, some people are like, oh, I don't like when people's family are involved in their business. To me, I like when families get involved. Like Reese Hoskins' wife, Jamie, is very prevalent in Philly sports Twitter, and you can see her around the ballpark. They did the thing where they were buying beers for people at the ballpark. That shows to me that they care and they're connected. Not only do they care about whether it's their son or their spouse or their brother or their cousin, whatever they may be, however they may be related, they also care about the perception of that person in the city, and they want to make sure that they're not just defending them, but keeping an eye on what the city thinks them. It can be a bad thing at times when the reception is negative, but when it's positive, like right now it is with Nick Castellanos, it's a good thing. So hopefully we're putting on a good face for Michelle Castellanos, even though it's their second year. And thank you if you do listen to the podcast. I'm not sure if she listens or if she just saw it on Twitter, but if you do listen, appreciate it. And we'll continue to talk your son up because he's having a great year. So there you have it. Michelle Castellanos, friend of the program. And you listening. Also, thank you very much. I don't want to make it seem like you're unimportant as well. Thank you so much for checking out another episode of Locked On Phillies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Again, Phillies play the Toronto Blue Jays today, 4:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can listen to that game on the Sirius XM app. Every pitch of the Phillies hometown broadcast, you can hear Michelle Castellanos' son play and hopefully hit another home run. Just go to the Sirius XM app, the SXM app, and search Phillies on there, and you can hear that. And tomorrow, we're going to recap everything that happened in the game, get into that, preview the road trip. So much going on for a Phillies team that's picking up steam and hopefully has some momentum right now. Make sure you're rating, reviewing, and subscribing on the YouTube so we can have momentum on Locked On Phillies as well. I appreciate all that. And I'll talk to you next time on the next episode of Locked On Phillies.